So I'm down here at McDonald's on Chicago and State, and this is prime real estate. Now, how active do you think McDonald's is, and Wendy's and Burger King, truly these franchises? Because if they can drive up their real estate value by integrating into the community through its managers that would sit on the local chambers of commerce, because in the Schaumburg Business Chamber of Commerce, we didn't have, McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, and back then there was no Chick-fil-A. But they don't take an interest, these franchises, in the real estate around them. And what happens? That means they don't take a investment in their future. They just let everything around them go whatever way. But if they got active with the aldermen and active with the local chamber, then they can help control the real estate around them. And if they do certain things to improve it, then their property value goes out. And I'll put this on Tumblr, goes up, and then the value of the franchise goes up. That means their stock goes up without selling another burger. If they systematically just improve the real estate around them, their real estate goes up, and that means the value of the franchise goes up without having to do anything. So I don't understand these national chains, and it doesn't matter if you're leasing. By stabilizing it, the real estate around you, and improving it, even if you're leasing, your risk spectrum goes down as a franchise, and you integrate yourself into the community. So they always do the community gift from Target and the community gift from Walmart, but they don't step into the community. Now, when I was part of what chamber? I think it was Rosemont. I've been part of so many different chambers. The Greater O'Hare Association, Rosemont, the Schaumburg Business Association, the Schaumburg Young Professionals. I integrated with the Chicago Young Professionals. I acted with, the Michigan Avenue Chamber of Commerce, and I can't remember all the different chambers of commerce. Jesus, there's so many. But in that, you never see any of these franchises. People from Target, people from Walmart, people from McDonald's, people from Wendy's, and I'm talking their management. You have more than one manager, and they can attend these chamber events and interact with the aldermen and attend these aldermanic events, because their employees have votes, and maybe they don't live here, and the employees that work there live far away. That's fine. It doesn't matter. They have votes. It's outside the aldermanic difference, but they affect everybody with inside the ald. So they have votes outside, they have votes inside. And so that means they have people that what? Use the transportation corridors. So their employees, like at McDonald's, say they live far north side or far south side, and they come down here to work. Well, that means they use the CTA, the RTA, or they use the streets or highways. So again, they're utilizing things, and if they're utilizing public transportation, that means they're pumping money into public transportation. Their employees have to take Ubers or Lyfts or taxi cabs. So they tend to stand silent, but that's not how you do it. So Walmart and all these, their firms come very susceptible to demographic changes because they don't integrate their community give with their wanting to improve and stabilize first and then improve the community. And if they did, no matter what, it stabilizes their business. And it's like here, there's a Circle K. And what do you do with the Circle K? Say the demographic shifts. Well, you shift what you carry. What did Costco do? Because of Whole Foods, the demographic shift, and Costco started carrying organics. What did Walmart do? Is their supercenters in that? And Walmart became one of the largest distributors of organics because Whole Foods made a substantial play in the market and the demographics shift that way. So they offered that. They didn't get rid of their traditional offerings. They shrunk it and added organic offerings besides their traditional offerings. And so they gave the client a choice. And that's what you do at Circle K. You see a trend shift, and you have to, the Circle K guy has to be integrated into the community and be looking at census data and everything and seeing what's going on. So as a business, if you're not aware, then you're susceptible to the shifts. And then you say, well, where did my business go? You shouldn't be watching this. And my brother-in-law, say, take Waltz Brothers. They had a contract with IBM. IBM had flanges. And flanges were these circular devices that created air pockets where the floppy disk used to ride on an air pocket. But since my brother-in-law didn't watch the market for his product line at Waltz Brothers, every product that you're building, you overlap with a trend. If I'm in McDonald's, I have chicken sandwiches, I have hamburgers, I have French fries, I have nuggets, I have Coca-Cola, I have cherry Coke, and so on. And with all of my products, I list them out in a vertical. And then next to it, I have trend analysis. Are hamburgers becoming more popular? Hamburgers becoming less popular? Cheeseburgers becoming more popular, cheeseburgers becoming less popular. And then I go in, is the substitutes. Now you have to go in with that. You're watching the overall market. My Quarter Pounder compares to the Big Mac. And they don't have the Quarter Pounder to the Big Mac. The Quarter Pounder compares to the Whopper. But Burger King doesn't have anything comparable to the Big Mac. Neither does Wendy's. Now, they have double cheeseburgers and everything else, and double Whoppers and that, but they have nothing comparable to the Big Mac. Now, because they don't have a comparable, or what we call in economics a substitute, because they're competing against you, you have to understand it's a double patty hamburger. So you have to throw it. You got to find a benchmark, so you have to throw it with a Whopper. But the thing is, the Whopper doesn't have all that sauce. A Whopper has a little bit of mayonnaise, but ketchup in that, and so does the Quarter Pounder. And they both have pickles and lettuce, but they use ketchup and mustard, where the Big Mac uses Thousand Island dressing and a lot of leaf lettuce and multiple buns. So there's 3 pieces of bread on a Big Mac. There's one bun, then another piece of bread, then another. So there's a bun, hamburger, another piece of bread, middle, and then hamburger, and then top piece of bread. And in that, they put that Thousand Island, or is it, I think it's Thousand Island. But the whole point, there's not a comparable. So you have to do something to benchmark it, and I would just look at Quarter Pounders and try to correlate. If I sell more Quarter Pounders, when I'm selling more Quarter Pounders, am I selling more Big Macs? Or is the Big Mac counter-cyclical or neutral? Where I'm selling more Quarter Pounders, it doesn't move. And Big Mac stays level. But if I'm selling Quarter Pounders, and as I sell more of them, I'm selling more Big Macs as well. So I have to find another correlating benchmark so I can figure out my trend analysis for the Big Mac. Since it doesn't fit in any of the burger places, Chick-fil-A, any of them, they really don't have anything like a Big Mac. And then your chicken sandwich, well, yeah, it's a breaded chicken sandwich, and so there's lots of them. They all have breaded chicken sandwiches, breaded fish fillets. That's common across all of them. So, again, it's easier to watch those. And then you can watch grocery stores for fish patties. Truly. And you're trying to build out this demographics within your area so you can see how trends going, and then you can figure out basically correlating how people are shifting in that area, who's moving in, who's moving out, because you got to correlate the trend back to people that come to your store. And you have to know if those people are local or are they people in the subway. Like this McDonald's, they're right near the subway, right near the university. Maybe their demographics has nothing to do with the local community. Our demographics at Baja had nothing to do with the local community. So the demographic changing in the local community, it had nothing to do with us. The local community weren't our clients. Our clients were outside. We drew people, massive amounts of people into the area. But again, our demographics had nothing to do with the local population. So you have to get that from the ID. And how do you do that at McDonald's? Credit cards. Because what the credit card companies can do to you, they can't tell you who used the credit cards, but they can tell you, your processing company can tell you the zip code of the people. They can tell you through merchant services what were the zip codes that your digital payments came from. What was their home zip code? So it tracks back to that source. And so you want to get the zip code. And so again, like I know for a fact, because when I go to the gas station and I put in my credit card, they'll ask for my zip code. Some of them do, because it doesn't have a PIN number, but for security, and they should do it at all gas stations, they ask for your zip code with the credit card, because you're not using a PIN, but the cross-verify. And if you want to do this even further, you can ask for a PIN number and a zip code to process the payment. So using a credit card or a debit card, you can use a PIN number and the zip code, multi-factor identification. Now, if you want to be tricky, you can register it maybe to a P.O. box. But again, I don't know if the credit card companies would allow that. But the point is, you're figuring out where your clients are coming from. And still, you got to understand how your clients are affected. So, it doesn't mean you're not involved in the local community, because the local community still affects your clients. So what businesses are in your local community and that, and so it affects the flow into it. So sometimes it's, you know, people coming down for business and that, like the Starbucks by my office in Rosemont. Most of its business, overwhelming, didn't come from anyone that lived there. No one in Rosemont, actually. It came from all the businesses around it, from my building and other buildings, office buildings. They had zero local business. And so if those businesses go away, they don't have any local. So the pivot is, if you know they're moving out and there's a transition where an industry is shrinking, then you got to figure out how you're going to drum up more local business. And so it's hard, because in that area, there's not a lot of housing or anything. And if you don't have businesses coming, you don't have any daytime business. So that Starbucks would get all its business from the local community in the evening. And most of the 9 to 5 people, they don't want coffee in the evening. So you're going to have to move to decaf or other drinks to get evening business. That's why Starbucks never gets business, or Dunkin' Donuts, in the evening. People seek out coffee when they wake up, and that's just a natural trend of things. But after that, they don't want it. In the afternoon, they might come in, but it's much slower. And then once you get to, late afternoon, really no one's coming in for a cup of coffee. People that are working first shift. You have to go into second shift and that. But if you don't have any of second or third shift people, and you have people in the community coming back for their house, they all work first shift, they're not coming into that Starbucks. So you have to pivot with things that are non-caffeinated. Reasons they would actually go to that location. But this is really understanding how your businesses work and not being subject to just sitting there and watching trend eat you up. Sometimes it's your favor, sometimes it goes against you. But you don't have to let it destroy you or define you. And that's why you figure out offsets and how you're going to change your approach to adapt to this. And so, again, everybody's work, what I put out, you have to adapt. And if you can't adapt, that's your fucking ignorance. And it's not my fault. And if you do anything to hinder me, that's antitrust, and you should be shot down. So just as you want your trend, I want my fucking trend. And who is the master wins. And anything that's otherwise is unacceptable. So again, it works that way. And this is how this country was built. And anything that bucks against it is highly fucking illegal. So again, I don't care if you're a fucking Hollywood studio. Each to their own. So if my trend wins, I'm your master. And this is why Plato bowed down to Socrates and Aristotle bowed down to Plato. And it was a master-servant relationship, not the other way around. Or principal-agent relationship. And they knew their place. As long as Socrates around, Plato was second fiddle. And believe me, Plato did nothing to hasten Socrates' death. The opposite. It's just like Aristotle wanted his master to live. So it's like God. He's intertwined with Jesus and the Holy Spirit in that. And they want God to reign supreme. So you have to understand these things. And if the servant isn't doing this, then they're no servant. But I'm going to put this on Tumblr. I'll post this, but I'll put the information, the clarification on Tumblr.